This is another interesting edition of your regular program, Business and Economy, packaged to make analysis of the new reforms, the new tax bill that has been signed by the President and its expectations on the Nigerian economy and also the business world. I am ILE EMEJE. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Thursday last week signed into law 4 new tax bills recently passed by the National Assembly. While signing the bills, the President described the new laws as pivotal to the success of the administration's reforms and the country's prosperity. The bills are: 1. The Nigeria Tax Bill Ease of Doing Business, which aims to consolidate Nigeria's fragmented tax laws into a harmonized statute. And number 2, the Nigeria Tax Administration Bill, which will establish a uniform legal and operational framework for tax administration across federal, state, and local government. The third bill is the Nigeria Revenue Service Establishment Bill, which repeals the current Federal Inland Revenue Service Act and creates a more autonomous and performance-driven National Revenue Agency to Nigeria Revenue Service. And so the Federal Inland Revenue Service is now termed as Nigeria Revenue Service, NRS. And the last one is the Jointly Revenue Board Establishment Bill, which provides for a formal governance structure to facilitating cooperation between revenue authorities at all levels of government. According to the President, the occasion presented a new lease of life to every Nigerian and the future generation. And so today on the program, economic analyst Dr. Muhammad Shaibu Tetes will be joining me after the business news to discuss the new tax reforms and expectation. It's after the program. He will join me for the discussion. Stay with us.
We are a nation blessed with people of diverse cultures, religions, languages, and opinions. It is ironic that we are now being ripped apart by our greatest strength, our diversity. We have allowed intolerance, insensitivity, bigotry, and nepotism to blind our vision of the greatness we can achieve working together as one. We may not have the same culture, nor religion, nor language, but we all belong to the same nation by the divine will of God. We did not choose to be Nigerians. Nigeria chose us. This nation is our divine heritage, and if we open our eyes, we would realize that what divides us pales in comparison to what unites us. And by the comparison and conciliation of our differences, we will grow until our differences disappear. Our unity cannot be willed by mere declarations, nor do we get unity by ignoring the questions that beg for answers. We must celebrate our diversity and debate our differences without fracturing our unity. Our strength is not in our numbers, but in our unity, because even the weak become strong when united. Nigeria unite.
This message is brought to you by Abuja Broadcasting Corporation, owners and operators of ASO Radio 93.5 FM Abuja, ASO Television DSTV Channel 392, Star Times Terrestrial Channel 127, Free TV Channel 507, People's TV Channel 285, and UHF Channel 38.
So glad to have you join us on this interesting edition of the program, because we are going to be talking about the new tax reforms, the bill that the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu signed into law by last week Thursday at the National Assembly. And we ought to have 2 guests, and I have a guest with me in the studio, and we're expecting Dr. Akinsola Oguntunde Akintunde via Skype, but it seems to us that there are some technical issues that may not allow us to pick Dr. Akintunde Ogunsola, but that's not too bad. Next week, we're going to have Dr. Akintunde Ogunsola to be live in the studio. So we are so sorry to you, Dr. Akintunde, if you are there and you're hearing us. So the guest I have with me is an economic analyst, and he's right here with me in the studio, and he is no other person but Dr. Muhammad Shaibu Tetes. Doctor, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be with you this morning.
All right, we'll say finally, the president has signed the tax reform bill. Now, what are the highlights of this bill?
Well, before we go into highlights,
Yeah.
you know, tax is something that people, the taxpayers, like the president mentioned, Vice President, are hesitant to pay. So when they hear of tax reforms, they naturally get agitated. Because they feel that something is
Money is going out?
coming out of their pockets. Meanwhile, I'm not very sure what the money is going to be used for.
Yeah.
Or whether the money will actually be used for the purpose it's intended to. So, various administrations are not courageous enough to come up with reforms because of the pushback that they are likely to get from the people.
Yeah.
So, notably, it was in 1993 that the then head of state, General Sani Abacha, was courageous enough to come up with a VAT, value added tax.
Yes.
And that actually helps to boost the revenue
Generation of the government.
seriously. Then, in between 2007, between 1999 and 2007, came up with various tax reforms, which witnessed tremendous improvement in the revenue generation from around 14 billion naira to about 83 billion naira. What it means to get enough tax from the people. The other reform that we got was in 2007 when the Federal Inland Revenue Service was granted both financial and administrative autonomy as an agency. Aside that, there have not been any reforms in the case. So most of the tax laws were necessary, in fact, have been very, very urgent. But successive governments have not been courageous enough, or they have not seen the desired need to come with any sort of tax reform. Thankfully, the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, having seen the benefit of the reform, the reforms.
Yeah.
And that reform was into 4 parts, which you have mentioned. Initially, there was a lot of pushback.
Agitations.
By a majority of the people. In fact, if you remember, the 36 governors had a meeting and requested the president to withdraw the bill from the National Assembly. But the president insisted that, okay, if you have anything to add or remove or modify in the various tax bills, 4 of them, please let the bills still remain with the National Assembly, and then make your inputs, right? Some, senators, notably Ali Dume from Borno. What we have now has gone through public enlightenment, town hall meetings, and a series of negotiations, trade-offs, for us to come to the various bills that were signed into law, I think last week. So, the bills, or the new tax system, has a lot of innovations. And I also commend the Taiwo Wedele Committee. They came up using what we call Pareto principle. They did 80%, 20%. That is, they look at the tax net and saw that which tax category pays 80% of the tax index, which was about 20%. Then the 20%, 80% that we're actually paying tax only contributed on the 80% in the tax net, that were contributing very minimally, and they were still the loudest, And now look at how the 20% that were contributing 80% of the revenue could now be looked at properly and see the areas that it can contribute more to generate revenue to the government. So that was a very sound innovation, right? And then it drew from what happens in other climes. You know, you mention countries like if you go to Holland, for instance, they depend on tax. And a host of other countries depend on tax for survival. So why not Nigeria? The natural resources that we are endowed with, agriculture, mineral, and all those things, Nigeria will be a very great country that is supposed to be.
Right. A lot of people want to know how this bill will fundamentally, or how it is fundamentally different from the previous bill.
Yes.
Any difference?
Yes, serious difference. The first difference is the one I have already said. The 80% of people that have been paying tax collections across the country.
Okay, now, this will take me to it would have been almost the last question that I would have asked, but now that you have mentioned it,